Last week I watched a couple movies and I want to share my thoughts on them. The first movie I watched was Skinamarink, a 2022 film directed by Kyle Edward Ball, and I gotta say, it was boring. The film follows these two children who are transported to a different dimension in their home with no doors and windows and is constantly being followed by a demon, and the movie just drags. When me and my girlfriend first started the film, it was like late at night and 30 minutes through the film I was starting to get tired and I thought, well, I could just watch it tomorrow when I'm full of, energy and more focus. And then the next day happens and we start watching it and we're just like, nothing's happening. And it just continued to drag on, and my girlfriend even looked at me and says, we don't have to watch this if we don't want to. And I thought, no, it might get better later. And 30 minutes through the film, 30 minutes later, it doesn't get better, and I turned and I was like, okay, let's just watch a different movie, which I'll discuss later. It got so boring that by the time I picked it back up, I had 30 minutes left of the film, and I could barely even get through that. Halfway through that 30 minutes, I went to go clean my cat litter, which was more enjoyable than the film, surprisingly. It was a major disappointment. It sucks because I should like this film. I love the aesthetic. I love the whole 90s VHS or 16mm quality of it, because recently I've been getting in this stuff from early 90s and 2000s, either from film, gaming, or television. I just starting to love that style. And like I said, it should work for me. I the thinly veiled plot is, you can do so much with it. I love the Blair Witch Project a lot, and that has basically a little plot and it's just totally scary. There was so much hype building around it when it first came out. It was like, oh, it's the scariest movie ever. But nothing happens. All the scares are just duds, really. And I think that's the thing, because most people probably saw this in a theater, and if I saw this in a theater, I probably would have loved it, in a dark theater, focus on it and be like, whoa, this is terrifying. But watching this at home, I just don't get that feeling, and I feel like a lot of people hyped it up too much. It's just a bag of nothing. And to me, the only scary part of the movie is the last 5 minutes, which I was like, wow, that's actually kind of scary and works great. I wish I would have had that throughout the entire movie. If anything, this would have worked better as maybe a short or something, or just one of those weird little horror YouTubes that you see, like the Backdoor Projects or the Mandela Catalogs. All in all, I just wish this movie had more bite than what it gave. I guess this film just wasn't for me. Love the aesthetic, but just did not connect with it. Going back to earlier, where my girlfriend and I just decided to drop Skinamarink and watch a different movie, we watched Dinner in America by Adam Reinhart, and I loved it. It's a coming-of-age romance movie about two outcasts falling in love, and it completely shatters the preconception of what a movie like this should be. I mean, for example, the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie, you might think it might be totally run-of-the-mill, oh, this girl goes to a show with her friends, falls in love with the singer, and then, romance ensues. But, from the get-go, this little girl, loves punk rock music and just full-on just the hardcore scene, which is whoa, this is different from what I've normally seen. And even before that, given, the introduction of, the male character, Kyle Garner's character, you just, think, wow, this dude is a complete asshole, and just right out the gate is, nothing I've ever seen of, any of these type of, romance movies. And the movie is a blast to watch. It's very funny, given that, it's very offensive. I'm gonna say that bluntly, it is very offensive. A lot of the use of the word retard in it. One of the best parts about this movie is the cast. Everyone is completely special in their own way, and they're not, quirky to the point of annoyingness, but, little details that make them stand out and how they, coincide with one another. It's just funny seeing each of them interact with each other. The movie is very sweet. There was a lot of tender and hot moments that make me just love it to death. Each time I'm thinking about it, each time I'm thinking of different scenes, it just warms my heart, and I love it more and more each time I think about it. You don't often see these type of small niche films tackled this way, and it's a breath of fresh air to see something like that, and I would love to see more of it. This movie is fantastic, and I hope more people see it. It's on Hulu right now, you can watch it. The next film I watched is SLC Punk by James Maradino, and I fucking love this movie. The film follows Steve-O, a punk living in Salt Lake City during the 1980s, and just interacting with his friends and critiquing life and society through his eyes and the way he sees it. Matthew Lillard is fantastic. Every line he delivers is just perfect. The way he just interacts and is just very lively through every scene makes you want to watch him more and more. One of the themes I took from this film is the idea of being a poser. and basically Matthew Lillard's character critiquing how these people want to be posers, they want to be punk, but they're not really punk, even though he kind of is a poser himself. Like, throughout the film, you constantly see holes in his argument as he tries to live by anarchism, even though he is a college graduate, which is totally against what he would consider punk. Even ideas of, like, falling in love or going back to get his master's heavily weighs on him, and it takes a toll on him through the film, as he doesn't know whether, like, he's really punk or not. The pacing of this film was just great. Under 2 hours, a breeze. Every scene is just fantastic. I just love watching it. So many scenes I could just pick out in my head and be like, that was amazing. And the soundtrack is fantastic. Picking out punk songs from the 70s and 80s perfectly fits well in the story, and I just love listening to those songs. And the final act of the film is really just the best. The way that characters openly critique his style and his attitude towards life and say, no, you're just wrong, you're just a poser. And he just accepts it, and that's just a beautiful understanding of him as a character, as he is ultimately was a poser from the beginning, and it will probably change that for himself. This film is slowly becoming one of my favorite films, and I'm glad I saw it because it's just a fantastically made film, and I just love every aspect of it. Matthew Lillard, I wish he gets more roles. I wish he would have gotten more roles because he is just a fantastic character actor, and he probably deserves more attention. And I think everyone should see this movie. It is great. I highly recommend it. The next film I saw was actually a documentary released on Max called Chimp Crazy by Eric Goody, and holy shit, it goes off the walls. Now, Eric Goody is no stranger. He did 2020's Tiger King, which exploded, and it was a great documentary about this insane zookeeper. And a lot could be said about Chimp Crazy, about these insane chimp keepers, I would say. The central story around Chimp Crazy is about this person named Tanya Haddix, who is a giant chimp lover and explores, like, you know, why she loves chimps, how she loves chimps, but it just goes off the deep end. You watch the first episode and you just can't get enough of it. Me and my girlfriend started it one night and we just could not stop. We finished the entire series by the time it was like 3 a.m. Now, the Tanya Haddix story isn't just the only story. They also throw in some relatively similar stories, like Travis the Chimp and I forgot the other one. Why can't I find what the other fucking chimp was? Buck. That was the other chimp's name, Buck, and that story of how just a woman raising a monkey to be, you know, like a child or something turned horribly wrong. Like, as the story keeps going on, you're like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is going on. Why isn't anything being done to stop it? Like, I was on the edge of my seat every single episode, every single minute, every single new development the story is. It just keeps getting better and better. I'm like, no way, this can't get worse. Like, throughout the documentary, Tanya's sitting there, like, trying to give out explanations of reasoning, like, oh, it's great to raise a chimp. These chimps are intelligent just like us. Why are we putting them in cages and all that? And on the other end, you have PETA, who don't have the best track record, but, like, you're watching this documentary, you go, yeah, they have a point, because, like, these chimps are animals. They're not used to, like, this environment. And going to expression of, like, by the time, like, these chimps are, like, 15, they're on their own. They don't need to be, you know, taking care of a tree-like child. They are trying to develop on their own. And you see these cast of characters and the way they raise the chimps, and you're like, this is fucking awful. Especially one of them, I forgot her fucking name, but you're just watching, you're like, Jesus Christ, can you stop abusing these monkeys? And when things keep building up, you're constantly asking yourself, are these documentaries gonna step in and stop this? Because you know, if they don't, things are gonna turn worse, and you just hope, like, please God, make everything hope it goes okay. Even though the ending is relatively happy, everything works out in the end, the post-credit scene is probably the saddest, really, where they're showing these chimps that died in their ages, and we know the context of, like, how chimps live very long. They live to, like, 60 or 75, and they're dying by these people at age 15 or younger, and it just shows you as just, like, yeah, these chimps should not be owned, taken care of, or just treated as child by these people who think they're just doing it to like help the chimps, it's really a selfish act they're doing to benefit their own need, or mainly their own wants, because they just love chimps. God, just speaking of it now, I just want to go back and watch the documentary because this is great. I think this is much better than Tiger King. I love Tiger King. I thought it was good, but this is so much better and such a tightly constructed documentary. Everything just gets right to the point. It's tight. There's no filler. It is beautiful. It is great, and I highly recommend everybody watch it because it's an insane story that everyone should watch. And the last film I watched last week was Midsommar, 2019 film by Ari Aster, which I feel like doesn't need any explanation. It's already a great film that everybody has talked about to death and analyzed, and endings explained everything. The way Ari Aster for this film tackled horror is just something that I personally like. I like when horror movies are set in the day because that is more scarier when like everything is able to be seen and you just know like something's not right and that is completely off-putting. Like the moment they get to Sweden is just completely just like I am completely uncomfortable and unsettled, and I just know things are gonna go way south from here. Before I get ahead of myself, the film follows Danny and Christian, this couple in a tumultuous relationship where Christian wants to dump Danny after being with her for 3 years because he just, I guess, doesn't like her anymore or just kind of like annoyed with her, but doesn't because Danny just suffered a horrific death of her family by her sister's suicide, which is a pretty graphic opening scene, I would have to say, probably more graphic than what the most graphic scene was in Hereditary. And after a bit of their relationship, it is known that it is discovered that Christian is going to Sweden with his friends for a thesis, and he decided to bring Danny along or invite her, and she accepted. And as I said before, the moment they get to Sweden, everything just gets completely like unsettling, and it just goes downhill from here as you're basically thrown into this like commune or cult where every one of the like traditions is just completely just terrifying. Every aspect of it, and the explanation is just like, this is unsettling. It's truly one of the most unsettling films I've seen in a while. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts and stuff discussing cults and some of the acts they've done, but like when you look at this film, you go, oh, he's done his research, and this cult feels like it could actually exist, and that is the most scary thing. Like, every ritual's performed, you're just sort of gripping your suit, being like, please go on, please stop, I don't want to see more. Ari Aster delivers on the horror in this film much better than Hereditary. Everything is sort of clean and concise. It gets right in the point and scaring you, and knows how to scare you. And I love that. Now, a little bit of a pin about this. I saw the original cut. I haven't seen the director's cut yet. I've heard there's more that goes on in the Danny and Chris's relation with the director's cut. But for now, this is the theatrical cut, and it is still a fantastic film, but I am itching to see the director's cut to see what's different and wonder how it would change my experience given Danny and Christian's relationship and how much I would feel about Christian about it. And then go back in the horror aspect, the idea of having this sort of like cult and this gruesome horror take place in this like beautiful sunny Sweden with like luscious trees and flowers and these old wooden homes and stuff, it just makes the horror even more scary and the cult even more terrifying, given that it's like this facade of just like, oh, everything is beautiful and everything seems harmonious and wonderful, but really it's just like these people have these rituals and customs that are just completely horrifying and disgusting, and that's probably the most terrifying thing of this movie. I love it. I love everything about this movie. It is one of the best horror movies I've seen recently, given that I haven't seen a lot of new horror movies recently, but this is the best I've seen in a while, and I, like many of the films I discussed today, would recommend viewing it. So yeah, those are the films I've seen last week and thought, hey, maybe I should just talk about them, tell you what I think about them. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.